So I'd love to start with Street Flame. Did it come from a character, Jinx? Was that always did it start with her, or did it start with a skate park, or where did this come from? I was really kind of fascinated by it.
Yeah, so it actually started with me wanting to do a short film about a young graffiti artist.
Oh.
And it wasn't about Jinx specifically, but I knew there was a street artist named Jinx in Austin. And I sought out to sort of seek young street artists, and I sort of followed them for a while, spent time with them, and then through that process learned about sort of how the skate community and the graffiti community converge, and sort of wrote a film based on my experiences hanging out with those kids that I spent time with.
So were those real life skaters you found, or were some of them cast? I mean, where did that come from?
It was a mix of people who I sort of street cast, and there were two actors who I sort of cast separately. One was someone who I found off of Craigslist, and a requirement was that they had to either skateboard or do graffiti. And so one of the leads was from Craigslist, and then one of them was a guy who I'd met 2 years ago when he was 16, the one with the multicolored hair, One Way. And I met him just for a photo shoot, and I knew he was a rapper and skater, so I just asked him if he'd be interested in the project. So
his hair alone's worth it.
Yeah, I thought he would. I always thought he was compelling to make a film with, and I thought it would make sense for this project once I was making it.
How long did you shoot for? And that's where in Austin was that shot? Is that I think I know where it is, but I'm curious. So.
Yeah, so it was sort of all over Austin. We shot at House Park, the skate park in Austin, sort of areas near House Park that we could just sort of walk to. And there was one scene, the bonfire scene, that was sort of 30 minutes in South Austin in a property where there was a lot of land. And where else did we shoot? Mostly just places local to Austin, nowhere too far.
As far as the title of the film, where did that come from? I'm kind of curious. You can title it many different things, but yeah. Street Flame, I know I'm curious if there's a different meaning than what I got out of it.
Yeah, I hate choosing titles for films, and that was the working title from when I first wrote the film, and I just sort of put it there, but then it became sort of an inside joke because all of the kids would use the flame emoji, and so it just became sort of the flame emoji was the way we always talked about the film on social media, I guess. And so when I was thinking about what I should title the film after it was finished, it was hard to sort of separate it from the working title. But I was never a huge fan necessarily of that title. It's just sort of the one that it got stuck to.
Well, to switch kind of to the other short, where did that come from? I mean, I know there's been a rash of films like Them That Followed just came out, and that's also similar about that particular sect of Christianity. But where did this idea come from? Do you know someone that does snake handling? I mean, where did it start from? Yeah, so
Pentecost was a film I made before Street Flame, and I made Pentecost in 2017 before Them That Follow had come out.
Before anyone, yeah.
Yes. So I have always been interested in sort of the charismatic traditions of Christianity, and I did grow up Christian, not necessarily with snake handling, but just sort of I've seen through that experience many types of sort of manifestations of how people think the supernatural sort of occurs in our world, and how spiritual forces are at work. And I was interested in working with snakes because I had met a guy in Austin who owns 150 snakes. And so sort of me being interested in the idea of working with snakes, having sort of this spiritual history and being interested in those types of stories. And I guess that's sort of how that idea emerged, to be honest.
So Did you get to pick the snakes? Was that one you went I want that one? I want this one?
So not really, actually. I did not want to use real rattlesnakes or venomous snakes for the film, which is obviously like what's accurate to how snake handling works. But the guy who I was working with said that he wouldn't participate in the film if I didn't really use rattlesnakes, because he doesn't like how movies misrepresent snakes and make it seem like non-venomous snakes are venomous when they're not. And so we ended up actually working with real rattlesnakes in the film. And
Wow.
So that was because he was really adamant that it had to be authentic. So.
Well, it begs the question, how much was put into the security of that? I mean, that's not a norm for sets. So, I mean, how much did that make it much more difficulty making the film, or did it actually kind of, in the long run, make it more real for you? You got to actually deal with real rattlesnakes. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would have been easier to work with not like a ball python pet snake, I guess. I don't know if it would have been as cool in the final product. I was also shooting on 16 millimeter film for the first time, so that also just in itself was a very difficult experience, because there's a limited amount of footage you have, and you can't just endlessly roll on animals that you don't have that much. It's not easy to control snakes, basically, and what they're doing in front of the camera. And yeah, I mean, working with the rattlesnakes, it was difficult, but we were safe about it. We had the snake wrangler. We used sort of like close lenses so that we were not that far, but like at least 10 feet away. We had sort of like a little barrier between us and the snakes. So we did our due diligence.
Where'd you find your cast? Was that similar as the later film? Was that Craigslist as well?
That one was a mix. So there used to be a resource called Short Film Texas where you could post a casting call. And so for that film, which was, like I said, 2017, I posted a casting call there, the Facebook groups that there are for actors in Austin, and that was how I found those actors.
Are you gonna, I have to ask every Austinite this, but is Austin your home? Is it always gonna be your home for filmmaking, or would you like to go outside of Austin to make your films?
Yeah, so Austin's been my home for the last 3 years, and I came to Austin to be in the film program at the University of Texas at Austin. I don't know if it's going to be my home forever, but I love Austin, and I'm so grateful that I've gotten to make films there, and it's been a really conducive place to make films. So, yeah, but I don't really know where I'll live in the future. I definitely want to travel sort of where the film is, though.
What does it mean to be at a festival like Women in Texas that honors the creative in the woman filmmaker? It's not just trying to placate to a certain style of film. All genres are allowed, and I think what Justina is trying to get out there is that women filmmakers can do whatever they want. What's it mean for you to be at a festival that highlights that?
So I just got to the festival earlier today, so I've only been here since like 10 a.m., but I'm really excited to be at a festival that is trying to promote films directed by women, because I think it's an important thing, basically.
And then, since you're a UT kid, what's been your favorite class or project or element that you've been able to utilize at UT? It's such a wonderful, for us in the South, it's huge for us.
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of mentioned it earlier with being able to shoot on film. That was probably the most exciting thing for me coming to UT, being encouraged to shoot on film, learning how to shoot on film, and having sort of the access to do that and work with professors who are knowledgeable about it. So that was really exciting for me, and yeah, just the professors there are really great, and I've learned a lot about filmmaking from being at that school. So,
well, Kevin, thank you for making the films. Thank you for making bold films, especially Pentecost. There's not many films now out there about it. So when you were making it, what were you looking at? So it's great that you made a film like that. So thanks for that, and thanks for coming to the festival. We really like having it here.